And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
All right, everyone, it is another edition of the Weighing In podcast, edition number 128. When I was on the LAPD, that was the complaint form, and God knows I had to have a lot of those. So, Joshua Thompson, we got people making complaints about us. I am so upset with all this. How are you doing?
You know, I'm actually surprisingly in a good mood. I mean, I think with a couple good explanations to people and maybe they'll start to understand. But I was, and everyone knows that I read the comment section. So I went through that thing and we got a lot more negative comments than we normally do. And I get it. Like you had said, you and I were talking off air. And you said, well, 50% of the people wanted Aljo to win and 50% of the people wanted Petr Yan to win. And it really just comes down to when you speak against the other person, what are they going to do? The other 50% is going to hate you. And so you can't make everyone happy, but I'm used to reading the comment sections, and our comment section is usually blown up with positivity, which is very rare for YouTube channels. But this time it was still had some positive vibes in there, but I got some hate mail a couple times. I was thinking, damn, I was waiting for someone to try and blow up my house.
Oof.
Where do you want to start, John? Because there's a lot. We could start about a lot of things.
Well, you know what? I'm going to let you decide where you want to start.
I think the Aljo thing it's going to take a longer duration, but just real quick, okay. I want to get this out of the way and get this off my chest. With the Islam Makhachev thing, everyone's like, oh, he had a great performance. And you were talking about the same thing. He finished him with the, pressure. And I understand that. But what I want people to understand is when I said I wasn't impressed with his performance, everyone needs to get that I've trained with him for years, over 5-6 years. He has gotten so much better. He is, like I said, I see him being the future champion. And I think if he was to be fast-tracked, could be champion by the end of the year, if that's what the UFC wanted to do. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but I have seen when he is relaxed in the gym. I've trained with him when he's relaxed in the gym, and I've seen him flow. I've seen him do everything to top-level guys, putting top-level guys in twisters, me being included, other guys, and actually laughing and joking about the submissions that he says he's going to hit and then hitting them. That's my point when I was talking about that. I know how good he is. I think a little bit of the long layoff kind of took the luster out of what he was doing. People need to understand that when you have that amount of time off, he really was just trying to get back there and get that win, move on to the next fighter. And he did exactly what he had to do. I am not knocking that. I am simply saying I know what his level of talent is. And even though he lived up to it, I want to see a little bit better out of him because I know he has that. He has so much more that people haven't seen. That's all I wanted to clear up. I wanted to clear that up for a second.
I think you did. It's a matter of you've trained with him and you know how good he really is. And you have high expectations for him.
Yes.
But it's always, sometimes we expect more of the people that we have been around and know how good they are and how good they can be. And we want them to perform at that peak level. And give them time.
Well, you have to. Time, man. People need to go back and look at the beginning of Khabib. Okay, he was almost like a blanket. He was all over you, and that's kind of what Islam was doing because they weren't as relaxed in that cage. He hasn't fully settled in. He hasn't been as active as Khabib was either. But as Khabib got more comfortable in realizing how damn good he was, that changes how you are, and that's what I had said the other day on Saturday when I said. I go, as more fights develop, the confidence will grow, and him being comfortable inside the octagon will make a big difference on how much more ground and pound you see out of him. He's got nasty ground and pound. Obviously, we saw the control. We didn't get to see a whole lot of the ground and pound because he was more, like I said, it felt like very stiff, but concerned about, I think, just getting through this fight, moving on to the next one. He knows he belongs in that top 10, top 7, 8. And then right into that next, trying to get to that next level of the top 5, top 3. That's kind of his goal, is making sure that he lives up to that. And I think after the long layoff, the pressure was on him. He got back in there, knocked off the ring rust in the win, and had a dominant performance over someone who's extremely talented in Dober. And I thought he looked great, and to finish somebody like that, like you said, he tapped him to pressure. And I shouldn't have been so hard on him, but But it's not even so much being hard. I just know the level of how good he is and what people should be expecting to see in the future. That's it.
Well, we all expect big things in the future. I think he's going to be great. And I thought, Drew Dober has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with what Drew Dober was doing at times against Islam. Man, he stuck in there in a lot of situations where you go, man, I'll tell you what, he just worked himself out of a bad spot. Man, he is using a lot of energy, but man, he is keeping himself safe. He's doing good. I got to give it to Islam. I thought he fought one of the best fighters as far as Drew Dober, as his level right now. Drew Dober was on like a 4-fight win streak, and he made Drew look, average as far as he couldn't get any offense going against Islam. And so to me, that was impressive in itself.
Yeah. The next topic I guess we could get into, or I guess we're still on Islam. Rafael dos Anjos comes out and says Islam Makhachev stop this hype, because he apparently everyone's talking about how good he is, this and that. But I think it's because, like I said, the dominance of which he had. He said, did he just beat a top contender? Dariush beat Dober and no one says crap. Said stop.
That was
the hype.
While ago. Hold on. Okay. That was a while ago. When Dariush beat Dober, that was 2 years now. Dober's a different guy. I mean that one. And he switched training camps. He changed what he was doing. He's gotten way better. And if there's one thing that Islam has proven, his fight against Davi Ramos, that's what tells you how good of a grappler he is. I don't know if everyone knows who Davi Ramos is, but this guy was an ADCC champion. This guy can roll. Mm-hmm. And he could do nothing with Islam in that fight. He was underneath him the whole time. And you look and you go, I love RDA, and RDA is a hell of a fighter. He was he's fought everyone. He is as tough as you can be. But man, I tell you what, that might not be a good fight for RDA.
It's not a good fight.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, RDA is good in the stand-up. He's got good ground game. You saw him use his ground game in his last fight extensively against Felder, but he's not going to be able to do those same things on the ground with Islam. In fact, he's going to find himself in a little bit of trouble, I think, and some bad positions at times based upon just the way they do things. And so it's going to be an interesting, if they match up, sometimes, be careful what you wish for.
Well, most people, I even read in there that Islam wasn't that good because he had a tough time with Saryukin. But Saryukin's very good. He's a very good wrestler. But on top of that, though, that week, I don't know if he had staph, but he had some sort of infection. He was on antibiotics, Islam was. And so he had kind of got a little bit tired on that. But they still had a great fight. And Islam looked phenomenal, I thought, in the fight. But people that don't know those little backstories, this is why they come to Weighing In podcast, is to hear this type of stuff. These are the things. I'm not trying to hype him. I'm simply telling you guys that I have firsthand experience with training with him and knowing what his potential is. And when I say he's a phenomenal wrestler, it's a different style of wrestling as well. With Khabib, you can say, yeah, he's a great wrestler with the double leg, the lift, the slams, all of those things, and the pressure, that type of stuff. But like I have said, Islam has a different style of everything, whether it's on the feet as well as on the ground. He has more of a submission base, and he's very good off of his back. That's another thing. So if he does get taken down, I wouldn't expect him to be there too long. But as for RDA, not a good fight for him. Not a good fight for him at all. So, but
we might see
that one next. It was scheduled. It got canceled, and the potential of them fighting, I think, given that RDA is ranked high, I think it makes sense.
Oh, it definitely makes sense. If you're Makhachev, you're looking at it going, I will take that fight now because it's only going to take him springboarding forward.
Well, he's looking
if he gets the win.
He asked for the Tony Ferguson fight. I don't think Tony's going to take that fight.
Well, it makes sense.
It does.
Come on, it really makes sense, especially off of 5 times that Khabib was matched with him that it never happened. So maybe you just switch, the names a little bit and it'll happen. Give you an idea of the fight.
Possibly, yeah. I would really like to see him fight like either RDA or Tony Ferguson, one of those two guys, and then take his time or whatever, and then go on to the next opponent. See, like at the top, the dust needs to settle. You have Chandler, Oliveira, you've got Dustin and Gaethje, but I mean, Chandler, Oliveira, they're kind of battling over who's next because of the Conor situation. So Islam, I think, has enough time to fight RDA or Tony. I don't think that Tony's going to take the fight. He'll probably want somebody else, but we'll see. But the RDA fight does make sense because they were already scheduled to fight.
It does. It makes total sense. Be interesting to see.
All right. So what else? Oh, let's talk about real quick. Megan Anderson reveals that the UFC featherweight division is being dropped from the promotion, and that Felicia Spencer will be the last fight against. Can't remember who Felicia Spencer is fighting next.
Oh, they brought another girl in. I think she's from France. I can't think of her name.
So that will be the official last fight of the featherweight division, which you had said, and we had said for, I don't know how, that's if you guys had listened to our podcast weighing in, you guys will understand. We've already said this. We said this, what, 2 or 3 months ago? That I don't see it really going much longer. And yeah.
They couldn't. They don't have enough fighters in that division to make it work.
Yeah.
You know, you look at it, and your champion can go to 135, even though I don't think she wants to. I think she likes the 145, and I don't blame her. But, Amanda can definitely go back down to 135. And so what are you really losing in the end? Not that much.
No, they're not losing anything.
I understand.
It's just a smart business decision on their part. I've seen them they got rid of the 155-pound weight class for a couple of years. Who knows? They may bring it back.
That was a while ago.
That was a while ago. But I'm saying they brought it back. I'm saying, but the 145-pound division for the female, they may bring it back down the road when there's a little bit more request for it. I mean, they realistically brought this on for Chris Cyborg. And then Amanda Nunes finally said, you know what, I will go up. And if I was somebody also during that time frame, I don't think I'd want to go up to 145 knowing that you have Chris Cyborg in one and you've got Amanda Nunes in the other. Like, you're not getting past those two to get to the title. And if they're in separate divisions, you have to eventually fight them to win the title. If I was somebody, a female, I'd be like, nah, hard pass. I'll just stay at 135 or 125 or whatever weight class that they are not in, because both of them are stone cold killers. Phenomenal fighters, both of them.
Chris is not going to make 135, but Amanda will.
Yeah.
So even if you're at 135, you still got that girl named Amanda Nunes above you. That's trouble. It's just, I mean, you looked at it and it was like, it's just logic. They can't hold a division where they have basically 4 to 5 fighters. It just doesn't work. And so it makes sense. You know, I'm sure that Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson will find a home somewhere else that they'll be able to fight. You know, there is Bellator has got, and I'm not saying it because I worry Bellator, but they've got a legitimate 145-pound division with quite a few women that are really good, so they'd fit right in there, and so maybe that's where they'll go.
Yeah, I'd like to see Julia Budd and Felicia Spencer fight.
Oh yeah,
I'd like to see that fight.
The Canadian battle, I like that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that fight.
Ooh,
good stuff. Reports: Dan Hardy responds. I don't even. Do you know about this? I read a little bit of it, but no one really came clear on what was done, and other than he got fired from BT Sports as well as UFC. But did it happen? Was it over a contract?
It was over a loss of, from what I was told, it was over him not being informed of something that was there for him that was then passed over to somebody else that he wasn't told of, and he got upset that the person didn't tell him. And if that, I don't know the whole situation.
Yeah.
I don't think it had anything to do with, it was because it was a female employee or anything like that. All I know is this: Dan Hardy is good for the sport. Dan Hardy is an outstanding analyst. He's so good. And the UFC is losing something by losing Dan Hardy. They really are, in my opinion. He was a feather in their cap. He was so good for them. I'm not saying, I don't know the particulars of what he said or what happened in this, and maybe it's the right thing, but they're going to miss him.
What's his podcast? He's got a pretty good podcast from what I've read and heard of.
He's got his breakdowns. I'm not sure, what the name of his podcast is, but he has the one with Mark Goddard. I think it's Listen.
Okay.
And they've got that they do periodically, but he's got one that's on, it's all him breaking down upcoming fights, and he really does a great job.
Great job. Let's see if we can find it.
It's just like workout stuff. I'm not
okay.
You got to figure the UFC was doing the whole breakdown show where they put Dan Hardy and John Gooden, and it was an actual series where he would break down fights.
The War Room.
The War Room.
The War Room is what it's called. There you go. Good job. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for those of you guys listening, like, just to show some support, man, go to his podcast, Listen with Mark Goddard, is what you're saying, and then also the War Room. Give him a shout, give him a listen, and support him, man. That's really best we can do. is just kind of be supportive of these guys, especially with him, like knowing that he's given his life to fighting. He's very talented. Like, I agree with you. He's great behind the mic, very knowledgeable, and comes with the right energy. And the accent kind of helps a little bit, you know.
I don't know about the accent.
Something I can't mimic it very well. So, but I think it helps get viewerships as well. So, but yeah, I don't know the whole situation, so I don't really want to get into it too much. It's a crap situation. I hope he does all right. I hope he does all right.
Yeah, me too.
All right, last thing is on the bright side before we jump into this Aljo stuff.
Oh, poor Dan Hooker.
56 days away from his family. Dan Hooker's finally back with his family after. I mean, he fought in the corner card, right? So you think about how long ago that was. He's finally just
January
back.
29th?
19th.
19th. Okay, and the crowd goes wild to Dan Hooker. People hate when I do that. So that's why I do it. For any reason I can do it. So
Dan Hooker, hats off to you, brother. I am sorry that you had to be away from your family for that long to go do your job. And it took that much for you to get back to your family.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, I feel bad that, I feel bad for his family. I feel bad for him. It's like, and then I was thinking, in seeing this, what about like Israel Adesanya? What about Eugene Berriman, who's got a business and stuff? It's like, how do you hold people away from coming back and being able to work? It's just crazy.
And he's got a newborn, not a newborn, but he's got a baby as well. It's like being away from your child that long. Brutal. Look at this. Yeah. This is one of those feel good stories, man. Got me pumped today.
That's
nice.
Good.
That's cute. It's got the little
good for Dan.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
He deserves a bonus pay for that one, man.
You would think, right? You would think they would kind of help out a little bit with that situation.
Man.
Okay, so let's get into this Aljo stuff. Do you want me to go first and you can have the rest of the rant?
Go ahead.
No. Okay, so when we had originally talked about this, the criticism was that people couldn't believe that we were like, oh, we thought he was living, that he was kind of like playing it up. Now, look, you guys at home, I want you guys to understand, two things can be true. I'm just going to straight up say, he played it up. There's no way around it. He played it up. Now, that being said, should he have gotten up and fought?
Doesn't mean he wasn't hurt.
Exactly. That's the other situation. Playing it up is that fighters do it all the time. And I understand. I get it. Look, you're in the fourth round, right? Fourth round. You get injured. You're down on the cards. You know it's not going your way, or you're starting to get tired and things are not like the things that you had success on in the first round. You don't have success on in the next round. In this round, your game plan's kind of falling apart. You realize your speed's not as effective as it was in the first and the second round. All of those things can be true. You could have played it up, and you could have also made a good business decision on making sure that you got another title shot. And this, being the champion now, was a good business decision. I'm not saying that you're a quitter. I'm simply saying that you could have been hurt, but you played it up. And there's no doubt about it. Like, from what I understand, he went to the doctors. He was released okay and was not concussed.
No.
So if he's not concussed, we've said that we have years and years of experience of seeing people get knocked out. I've got years of experience. You especially you've seen thousands of them happen. For me, I've seen a couple hundred, but I've probably seen at least 20 or 30 in the gym. You know what I mean? But like, you see these and they never act like this. They ask questions. They're not, and all of these things. Now, all of those things, like I said, could be true. He could have lived it up. He could have, faked the funk, I guess you could say, and then could have faked the funk. But he could have also made a good business decision, which he did. Those two things could be true, which I believe they are. He is guaranteed now to defend the title and fight for title money. And everyone's like, oh, he's not going to get pay-per-view money. I can't imagine him being the champion and not getting pay-per-view money. Whoever his manager would be an idiot if he didn't win the title and get pay-per-view money. So we're like, oh, you don't think the UFC is going to give it? No, it's in the contract. It doesn't matter what the UFC is like, oh, you want it this way. Things don't change because of that. The contract states this, and the UFC will follow that contract. he will get pay-per-view dollars now on that. Whether it's $1, whether it's $1.70, whether it's $2, who knows? Okay, that's up to his management and him. But I'm simply saying that those two things are not separated. If you can have both things, okay, for it to happen. That's my rant on that situation.
Good rant. All right, here's my thing to Aljo. First off, I want to say, Aljo, I love you as a person, and I think you're an incredible fighter. You are absolutely outstanding. Anybody that can have the performances that you've had, especially like your Corey Sandhagen, dude, you're awesome. I listened to your podcast and I listened to what you said, and here's the answers to some of it. I can't remember all of it, but there's some things that you said. One of the things you talked about was that how is a guy a champion and doesn't know the rules? Well, even in what you were saying, you didn't know the rules because you said that you thought it was going to be a no contest, but you would know that you can't have a no contest in a championship fight if it's entered the fourth round. It's not possible. So even you don't know all the rules. And what really, I think, happened with Petr Yan, and there is no doubt he hit you with a massive knee. You took it like a champ. All right. The fact that it didn't knock you out, because a knee is a heavy tool to use as far as the amount of torque and velocity and weight behind it, it knocks people out. So I do believe, and this is what happens, is the referee goes in the back and he starts talking to Petr Yan and his people. Well, Petr Yan speaks Russian. So what is the referee using? He's using an interpreter, and he starts talking about this hand being up and down as far as what will make you grounded and what not. And his interpreter is saying stuff, but the referee doesn't understand what the interpreter is saying either. And there could be some bad, information that's kind of put out there. And that really is when the referee calls you down when your hand's down, you were already down, your knee was down. And then you took your hand up, you were still a down fighter. And in my opinion, he believed that he could legally knee you at that time. Was it a mistake? Absolutely. Was it wrong? Absolutely. But I don't think the intent was to foul you. He thought what he was doing was legal. It obviously wasn't. And you got hurt by something that he did that was illegal. So something's got to be done. When you sit there and you ask, all right, when is there a disqualification? Then tell me when there is. What would you there? Are you never going to have it or anything like that? Yes, the disqualification is there for a reason. But as an official, when you have more time, because let's be honest, this was that referee's very first world title fight. And it takes time to be able to be calm and relaxed and not take things personal, even as the referee, because as the referee, sometimes, when that knee goes off and it hits Aljamain Sterling, the referee's like, I can't believe you did that. And he's stopping and it's like, what are you doing? And you're thinking, oh my God, that was unbelievably wrong. And he's becoming personally involved in something that you don't get personally involved in. You try to take care and you make sure that the one fighter is put to a corner and he knows that he's going to stay there. And then you come in and you check on your fighter. If you need to bring the doctor in, you bring the doctor in, all that stuff. And then we decide if the fight can continue. So when we have this situation and you're saying, well, it's a disqualification, it can be. And I said before that the referee was absolutely within his right to make it a DQ. But I'm going to take you back and tell you why I wouldn't know. This is a world title fight. And world title fights ending in a disqualification can happen, but usually it's going to be based upon more than just one thing. If I take you back to Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield, that was a world title fight. You're talking about millions of dollars out there. You're talking about people in the crowd, which obviously there's not at the UFC right now, but still pay-per-view dollars, big time for that fight, bigger than, probably what was on UFC 259, but UFC 259, that's big, big money. So there's a lot of other issues in this. Your safety is number one. If you can't fight, we don't want to put you back in the fight. But to just end a fight is not the first thought process. And if you go back to Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield, Mills Lane wanted to disqualify him right away. He felt personally affronted. And it was Mark Ratner, who now works for the UFC, who was the executive officer who pulled Mills Lane to the side and said, hey, this is a big fight. It's a world title fight. Let's see if Evander can continue, and then let's take points, because you're trying to give the fans what they're paying money for, and you're trying to have the promoter have their fight if the fighter can go on. Now, you couldn't go on. Evander went on with part of his ear missing, and then Mike tried to bite him again, and he got disqualified. It was multiples, and that's the big difference. When you have multiples, that's when we look towards that disqualification. If we have something that's egregious, Petr Yan goes and grabs your head and takes his thumb and stabs it into your eye. That's egregious. That's more of a disqualification. Unfortunately, knees to the head of a grounded fighter, kicks to the head of a grounded fighter, downward elbows. These things happen in MMA, even though we don't want them to, but we try to mitigate and monitor them. And so with that one, that is why I would have gone to the scorecards. And when I say I go to the scorecards, here's the big difference that would have occurred. The championship probably, now I know, I didn't know then, but I know now, the championship would not have changed hands. It would have been, in the end, probably what we call a majority draw. And that's because you had 3 rounds that were already judged. Aljamain Sterling was behind on 2 of the judges' scorecards. He was up on the one, and then they would have scored the 4th round. They would have scored what they saw of the 4th round. And there's no doubt that every judge was going to give that to Petr Yan. He was winning that round. So I can't say there's no doubt. I don't think there was doubt. He was winning it pretty handily. So Petr Yan's going to win that 4th round, the portion of the 4th round that was actually fought. So he's going to be up. I'm going to take, if Aljo's not doing, something this bad, I'm going to take 2 points away from Petr Yan, which means that now on 2 judges' scorecards, it's going to end up being that it's an even fight. And on 1 judge's scorecard, Aljamain Sterling is going to be winning, but that becomes a majority draw, meaning that the title doesn't change hands. So a lot of this is just, the way it works in officiating and the way it works in sports. And so when you're asking, is there, ever that time that you would take a disqualification? Yeah, I've disqualified 2 fighters in my entire career. Okay. It's not something that you do much, but there are those situations that you will. You talked about that, you talked to me, Aljamain. I love you as a fighter. I never refereed one of your fights. I didn't get that honor because you are special, but I think you're talking about a situation where I talked to your coaches, and it was after you lost a fight to Brian Caraway. And I had told your coaches that I thought you got screwed, that it should have at least been a draw. You should have won the 1st round of that fight 10-8. And what they told you, I don't know, but it wasn't me directly telling you. So, you came up with some stuff. I hope that answers it for you. I absolutely know you got hit with a huge knee. If you say you couldn't have gone on, I'm okay with that. But there is a difference in when you disqualify. And so, it's a good thing that you had the referee that you did. He gave you the disqualification, but that referee saying that he was going to disqualify while you're lying on the ground underneath his feet is not a good thing. It doesn't look good, and it's not your fault. It's just the level at that time of what that referee is under and what he's had in the past. Again, there's levels to everything, and there's certain things you don't do. And you figure those out over time, same as you figured them out over time in fighting. And you have changed your fighting style over time because you've figured out what works and what doesn't. And when you haven't had these situations, you can make those simple mistakes that don't seem like anything, but they're big. And they've happened to other fights in the past, and they've made a difference. So you being the champion, congratulations. But I look at it, no doubt, both of you and Petr Yan, should be matched back up, because I know that you are not completely satisfied with the outcome of the fight. I know he's not satisfied. I know the fans aren't satisfied. And not that you owe anybody, you don't owe anybody, but it would be good to see you guys do it again, and may the best man win.
Well, when
There you go.
when you started this, you said exactly what you and I originally, when we first started working together, about the rules. We don't know shit as fighters about the rules.
Okay, I was not going to put you on the spot because you always think, John, you always put me on the spot. But Josh,
yes.
When you were fighting, do you know more now than when you were actually a fighter in the cage?
Way more. I did not know that would have been a DQ. I did not know, and I did not know if it was past the second round or the third round, whether they would go to the scorecards or not. And I didn't know any of that. Like, I thought, like, okay, and I also, you hear fighters get up all the time and say, well, if he gets DQ, do I win? You hear him say that all the time. You know, it's
and it's a really bad referee that goes yes or no.
Yeah. You understand? Like, fighters, that's what fighters do, because they don't know the rules. They don't know the ins and the outs of, like, when do we go to the scorecards? Is this going to be a no contest? Who keeps the title if it's a no contest? Who gets the title if it's a DQ? Like, they don't know those things. I mean, there's so many things, and that I've learned by working with you side by side, you know, calling the fights for Bellator, as well as just doing the podcast together. But this is why people come to our shows, because I give the fighter perspective on how dumb we are when it comes to the rules. It's true. And then you give the real knowledge on, like, what it is, because you wrote the rules. And I know we always say that, but it's true. And so when it comes down to it, like, it's best that in this situation, do I think that he was hurt? Yes. I think that he played it up? Yes. Do I think he made the right business decision? Yes. All of those things can be true. You know, I'm not knocking him. And he even goes on to talk about in this video he did, I don't know who was it for? It was like MMA Junkie, I think, posted it. But he did a video with balloons behind him. And he admits that the UFC, had he got up and fought and lost, that he probably wouldn't have got a rematch right away. He would have had to fight 2 or 3 more fights. Those were all things that he admitted were going through his mind as he was laying there. He was making a business decision as he laid on that canvas. And before you guys criticize what I'm saying right now, let me just tell you, every fighter is laying on that canvas making that same business decision. Every time they get kneed in the face, or they get poked in the eye, or hit in the groin for the 3rd time, they're making their business decision. Look at certain fighters. Who was it? Stefan Struve. He got kicked in the groin I don't know how many times. He kept trying to fight, fight. Yes. And then it's like, sometimes it backfires. Yeah. You understand? And so
Anthony Smith was, you know, very similar in the situation. Obviously, different placement. He was up against a cage against John Jones, but Anthony Smith got kneed and got same thing as Aljamain. He got smacked with that knee, and he went on in the fight. And a lot of people said, "What are you doing? Why didn't you would have won? You would be the champion." He goes, "I can't do that." And you got to look, and, you know, there's no questioning, you know, Anthony Smith's heart and his toughness, but that was his statement. He says, I don't do that. And I'm not saying Aljamain did that. I'm just saying it happens. These things happen. And, you know, there is that possibility that you get hurt to the point you go, hey, I've got vertigo. I can't see out of my eye now. And many times, look, you get hit. He got hit more to the side. He got hit flush. It didn't hit him on the chin, which is lucky because that would have made him unconscious. But, you know, it could end up hitting where you don't see out of one of your eyes too. It happens all the time. So there's all kinds of things that can happen.
Here's the thing is, I'm no way releasing Petr Yan of any of the.
No, he was wrong.
He was wrong. That's not, I think people think because we're telling Aljamain, like, hey, we understand. We know what you like. I felt like you lived it up. That doesn't mean that I'm saying that Petr Yan should still be the champion. It just means that he made a mistake. You took advantage of the situation, but it's fine. I understand, because I wouldn't want you, honestly, to jump back in there knowing that you can't fight.
No.
That's what the difference is. Like, when you get kneed like that, I'm not saying that you know, after 5 minutes, we should have got up and seen how you were. You didn't have a concussion, so it's not the same.
It all comes down to this. Only Aljamain knows how hurt he was. He's the only one. It's to sit there. Well, the doctor's only going to go with the safe route and saying, hey, he says that, you know, he's woozy or he's dizzy. The doctor's going to say, I can't fight. That's normal. But only Aljamain knows how hurt he was. And man, maybe he was seriously hurt. Maybe he is, you know, hearing, that buzz that you'll get when you get smacked hard and stuff. Only he knows. Yeah. But when you see all the other fighters, here's the thing that's going to happen. And this is not Aljamain's fault at all, but he's going to hear this from fighters that he's fighting forever.
Yeah.
They're all going to, when they're trying to get under his skin, this is what they're going to pick at, because they know this is something I can get at him, and he's going to have to be able to just let it go, because they're going to try to pick at him to get under his skin to make him fight stupid in the next fight. That's called psychological warfare, and they're going to try to do it.
Well, when I said it was a bad look, I got murdered for saying that on Aljamain's part. I said it was a bad look. But the problem is, though, is that fighters now are already Petr Yan being one of them, posting pictures of him at having a party with the belt over his shoulder, at dinner with the belt over his shoulder. Like, you understand what I'm saying? But that's what fighters are going to do. That's what you're talking about right now. They're going to jab at him saying, yeah, you fake champion. This, I said, it's a bad look, because you were so hurt during the fight, but then 2 hours later, you're at a restaurant having dinner with, but obviously your family and your friends that care for you and love for you. And I understand
you can't blame him for that.
You cannot blame him for that.
No.
But the thing is, I'm just simply saying, I'm just backing up what you said. Fighters are going to stick that to you. They're going to post a picture every time of fake champion, or faking the funk, or a picture of you falling back down, or a gif of you falling back to your back being dramatic. That's what they're going to do. They're going to just tear you up in that way to get under your skin every single time that you fight.
So when you look at it and think about this, as from the fighter's perspective, when you're in Aljamain's spot, are you almost in a no-win situation?
100% you are, John.
Yeah,
not just Aljamain, every fighter that has to continue fighting, you're
that's
in
what I'm saying.
No-win.
You're in a no-win situation of, okay, I continue on even though I'm kind of hurting and I'm dizzy. You're going to end up losing the fight. And then you're in exactly what he was talking about. He was thinking about is, I lose the fight and then I got to go win 3 or 4 more. Or you get this result and it's a matter of now everyone's saying, oh, you're a fake champion.
John,
he's not a fake champion. He's the champion. But go ahead.
I'd rather be the fake champion.
Hell yes.
Because like I said, a business decision is what he made.
He's not. They can say it. He's not a fake champion. He legally and righteously won the title based upon a disqualification that was not made by him. It was made by the referee.
Yeah.
And so it's not. He didn't create the knee. He didn't create any of that. It's everything that goes with it. You're almost in that no win as you look at it.
Well, he's also not making it, and I'm just being honest. He's also didn't make it easier by taking pictures with Henry Cejudo, saying, I can see Cejudo being next. Already trying to duck Petr Yan. Like, that's what people are going to talk about. Like I said, it's a bad look, because then what happened in the cage, and then you see the photos of the party afterwards, and then you see him squaring up with other fighters, and then doing an interview saying that, like, I wouldn't be opposed if the UFC didn't want to do the automatic rematch with Petr Yan. That right there is just all those things in a row, John, is a bad look.
I'm going to be you now, but okay. He sees Henry Cejudo. And so Henry comes up and says, hey, congratulations or something like that. Let's take a picture, let's face up. And so you do it. And then someone says something, says, hey, if the UFC, didn't want an automatic rematch, I wouldn't mind this fight. I guess you just don't get on Twitter.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, but John, we started off this second batch of conversation is that he's in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, he is.
And I mean, like, I know that
I see it.
We're clearing the air right now, and it seems like we're ragging on him a little bit, or I'm ragging on him a little bit more so. But the honest to God truth is he's in a lose-lose situation. As a fighter that takes a shot, an illegal blow, whether it's a growing shot, an eye poke, a knee to the head, a spear elbow, whatever it is. Okay, after that, you're fighting compromised.
Yeah,
like look at guys like Raymond Daniels when he fought what's his name and kicked him in the groin, and then he turned around and he kicked him right back again, and the fight was over. But the first time,
5 seconds later,
he was in tears. He was already in tears from the first shot on the ground. Took the full 5 minutes, got back up, nutted up, no pun intended. Actually, yes, it was. But,
He didn't nut up. He sucked it up.
Yeah, he sucked it up. But then he got kicked right away. I was like, okay, done. There was just no way he was getting up. It was clean, hard. You know what I mean? But in this situation.
It was a spitting back kick from Ray Daniels.
But in this situation, he's in a similar situation where you took a knee to the head. You're not going to be the same fighter. And not to mention in the fourth round when you're already starting to get tired, you're starting to slow down, and you explained yourself that you may never get this shot again. It was
but think about this and just tell me what you think. So if he didn't win the title and it was, we'll say, a majority draw, you think he gets any heat?
No.
I don't think he gets near the heat, and I think it's still going to be a rematch.
I don't think it's going to be a rematch.
Why? The fight was a good fight, and it ended on an illegal blow.
It was starting to be one-sided, and they would have seen that. And I think I don't think it would have been a rematch.
So then Aljamain was completely right.
I know. That's why when he did the video, I was like, you're stating all the claims that while you were laying there, you were calculating your decision in your head. He said it himself. And
he said that.
But in reality, and we've seen this before in the past where Dana has said he's next and he's not next. You know what I mean? Like, so in reality, he's thinking, I've seen this happen. And I know what potentially has happened. And the fight wasn't going his way. And as a fighter, you know when you're down on the cards, or you know that like it's starting to get away from you a little bit. Yeah. And I think I had him winning the first, and I had him winning the next, or losing the last three. Or the next two, I should say, going into the fourth. And he was losing that round as well. And so as the fight was going on, it was becoming one-sided. And as Dana White, as a promoter, it's like people have already seen enough. They're not going to be interested in seeing this. Peter was running away with it, and he would have left it, I think. Maybe they would have said, hey, get one win and we'll get you back. But he would have had to fight somebody, you know? And so when we're talking about this, I'm not saying he didn't make the right decision. No, I'm just simply saying that fighters will sometimes play it up, and he played it up. But it doesn't mean that I was saying that he should go out there and fight, because he is a compromised fighter. And we've talked, he was in a shitty position because it's a lose-lose for him. Had he taken the majority draw, he wouldn't have got the title shot next. I don't think so. Fans would have already seen that fight. I already paid for that pay-per-view. I already saw that guy. Saw him fight. He was losing. That's all. That's what would have happened. Dana, on to the next one.
All right.
Just my 2 cents.
I like it. Yeah, makes sense.
What else? Two of them. Just two of them. What else you got for me, bud?
So kind of this rolls into fan questions, but just it kind of still lingers on the Aljo thing. So DK asks us, did you hear what Matt Serra had to say about Big John referencing Aljo? Played up somewhat for the sake of business. John's response to Serra, ? I personally didn't think John said anything that controversial.
So who said that?
So Matt Serra had comments, yeah.
First off, I didn't listen to Matt Serra, and that there's reasons why I didn't listen to Matt Serra. So Matt Serra is a coach of Aljamain Sterling. What is he going to say? Anything that goes against Aljamain, he's not going to like, and I understand that. That would be normal.
I love Matt Serra. I mean, I love Matt Serra. And it's like you said, if once somebody has worked with somebody and they have put time in with them and they've rolled with them and they've trained with them and they've helped coach them, they're in. That's like that's their friend. That's kind of how this fight network kind of works, unless you guys have a bad falling out. Matt Serra.
McCarthy saying, do you know what it's like? Yes, I do know what it's like kicking you in the face, Matt. Thank you very much. Yes.
I mean, realistically,
maybe not one that I didn't expect to come. Well, I guess it didn't expect it to come. Now,
either way, they still hurt.
It still hurts.
If they're hard enough, you don't really feel them. I mean, there's not much. I would imagine you have much to say. Matt's a great guy. Matt obviously has he's one of those like kind of really like loyal guys to his boys and his friends, and of course he's going to stick up for his someone he's worked with. So it's very understandable. Real quick, guys, make sure you guys go to mybookie.ag or mybookie.com. Use the promo code weighing in, and they'll give you some money. Can't ask for better than that, John. What do you think?
If they're going to give me money, I just want to know how I get it to grow. want it to grow.
You got to listen to us to get the good odds and get the good decision making. Well, maybe listen to John for the good decision making.
Now and then. No, like my last one. Let's see, I had Adesanya beating Blachowicz, I thought, and I had what else? I had Dominic Cruz. I thought Casey Kenny was going to possibly beat Dominic Cruz. I was wrong there too.
Yeah, I had Yan winning the week. I was a flip flopper though.
I started off with Izzy. You had Dom. You had Yan and Dom.
I had Yan and Dom. But I also had Petr Yan winning. Who would have thought? And then we all had Megan Anderson losing. So, yeah, good stuff though. The Dom fight honestly kind of got to me. And then just real quick, we're gonna touch on it real quick. Is Monster came out, so they're gonna launch an investigation into that whole situation with Hans, and we'll see what happens. It is what it is. Well, I want to refrain from holding any judgment until they do their investigation and more press comes out. I think it's fair.
Yeah, but I want to say one thing. Sometimes guys forget. Sometimes people forget.
I know where you're going with this.
Well, come on, man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, if Dom is saying that Hans is getting clout from him or making him like things and stuff, he should not be doing that. I totally agree with Dom. But Dom has had some long layoffs, and it's those sponsorships that keep him going. And he's had a pretty good relationship with Monster, and so I mean, I don't know. Both guys come from the same area. How's that?
Yeah, they'll cross paths, and hopefully they can sort it out.
Yeah,
but the investigation will happen, and then they'll and we'll see what happens. Refrain from any judgment until then. Look, realistically, I like the card, but I just can't wait to see Leon Edwards fight. I think it's been so much up long and down for him, and just being stuck in the UK because of COVID, pretty much the whole time trying to get over here. Several fights have been talked about, have been signed, and then not been able to go through. They removed him from the rankings for a little bit, put him back on, then there's been so much stuff for him. So for him to finally get in there, but Bilal Muhammad coming off of a good win and already in shape. All he had to do is continue training, and now has a chance to catapult himself right into that top position.
I got it, man. I'll tell you what, he took a ton of leg kicks, though. I am surprised that his leg is in a position where he could train that well. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't win the fight easily. He did. But, man, he did take a ton of shots from Lima on that leg, and it had to be sore. And, that soreness doesn't just go away in a couple days.
Yeah.
It lingers. So
yeah, it's about 7 to 10 days.
I give him credit, man, because, that leg had to be sore, and he's coming back into training. So, but like you're saying, he was in shape. He's always in shape. I've never seen the guy gas in a fight. So it's going to be interesting. His wrestling is an equalizer in it because he is a really good wrestler. He's good with his takedowns against the cage, but Edwards has gotten way better as far as his wrestling defense. So he's not going to be an easy takedown. And when you look at the stand-up, Leon Edwards is good.
Not just that, but the speed overall.
Stand-up is sharp. Yep, the speed's going to be a big factor.
Yeah,
yep.
And then you have to. What people need to remember is that when you have someone who's very fast, and I know there was a lot of controversy over the Izzy and Yan thing and the biting on the feints and all this stuff, because the commentary team was saying that quite a bit, is that once the fighter realizes, like Yan realized that Izzy was faster than him, it makes them flinch with every little movement because they don't want to get hit. They don't want to get touched and those things. So when you're talking about Leon Edwards, you guys got to pay attention to Leon will throw feints. And if Bilal starts, I gotta get it right. If Bilal starts biting on it, it makes it easier for setups. And so it's easy once you get a fighter to start biting, to start setting up other things. And so that's one thing. If you're at home watching this fight, you guys should start paying attention to. Keep a close eye on when Leon moves or Leon feints, what Bilal does, because that'll dictate on how this is going to make it easier for Leon to potentially get a takedown at times, to throw the striking and then get the takedown, or feint the takedown and throw something high. I mean, all of those things will play a factor with the speed. The old sayings like, speed kills. The reason why they stick around is because they're true. You know, and that's really what it comes down to. Is it like those old type of sayings? Because speed does kill. And when you see it, you see it in the smaller weight classes. Once the speed goes for the smaller guys, their career is pretty much over. You know, but when you get into the upper weight class, 70, 85, somewhere in there, it's not as much of a factor, but it is. It can be with guys like Leon Edwards. It's a factor because if you bite on all their feints, it's gonna be a long night for you, and you're gonna get pieced up. And it goes for everything because now it becomes easier to get that takedown. Now it becomes easier to fake the takedowns and throw up high and land and touch and then mix it up a lot easier. So I'm interested to see what Edwards looks like after this long layoff. But I'm also interested to see how Bilal continued on and ready to go. Because the best way to get rid of that leg soreness is to keep training, get some muscle therapy, and kind of work through it a little bit. Don't get leg kick there, okay?
No, but you can avoid that.
But get the soft tissue work done, you know, and then keep running, keep yourself in shape, get some grappling, some stretching in, all of those things that play a factor to help get rid of it. Like if you're sore, right? I do a hard workout on Monday, I do leg day. But if I go and do a light run in the morning and then I do like a little bit of some kickboxing or some bag work and use my legs or a little bit of grappling, by Wednesday, Thursday, it's pretty much already gone. And that's kind of the situation. I mean, I know it'll probably take a little bit longer if it's a hard knot, but with some soft tissue work and some muscle therapy, a little bit of stem, a little bit of ice, all those things will play a factor, you know, on him being able to recover fast enough to get him back into the training camp. I'm excited, man. This to me is a good fight.
It's a fun fight. I look at it. The real question is, how good is Leon going to come out after the long layoff? Is it going to have no effect on him at all? Or is it going to have some effect where he takes his time and tries to, you know, just ease himself back into the fight? Or is he just going to go after Bilal? Because I know Bilal's going to go after him.
Yeah.
Bilal's going to go right after him. He's going to put pressure on him. He's going to try to put his back towards the cage. And if he can get the takedowns, it's not going to be a nice feeling for Leon, because Bilal's good at keeping people on the ground. So he's going to have to work hard. He's going to have to burn a lot of energy to get himself back up. It's an interesting fight. And right now, you know, Bilal's been he's been looking good. So obviously Leon Edwards is the favorite in the fight. He deserves to be, but I'm looking forward to it. Really am.
The fight that I want to see is Manel. How do you say his last name?
Cape.
Okay.
Yeah, no Cape.
Okay. They were saying Cop last time I was.
And I've heard both in Japan, it was always Cape. Now I heard when the UFC did it was Cop.
Yeah.
But it was Cape in Japan. So.
And Pereira should be a good fight.
It should be a good fight. You know, Cape he's fast. He's got to throw.
Yeah. His last fight
sometimes holds back. I'm looking forward to Dan Ige against Gavin Tucker.
I love me some Ige.
A good fight. Dan Ige is, you know, it's funny because Gavin Tucker in his last fight fought Billy Quarantillo, who I think is just a tough, come forward, just wear you out with pressure fighter, very similar to Dan Ige. So Tucker is, in my mind, he got a little bit of an advantage. He got one version of what Dan Ige brings through Billy. So we'll see how this one ends up. It should be a scrap.
Dan will push the pace all the way to the bitter end to try and get that win. And so
that's the whole point. That's what he faced in the last one. That's why I'm saying, he kind of got that setup fight for, you look and go, well, who's the fighter? If I'm going to fight him, who do I want to fight? I'll take that guy to give me that same type of look.
Yeah.
Interesting is that matchup happened like that. And then it's good to see that Angela Hill and Ashley Yoder get to come in and do that fight that was canceled based upon one of Ashley's corner people having COVID. So nice to see that they're back for that. Should be a good matchup. It's the second time that they already fought once.
Did they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they fought.
Who won the first? I mean, Angela win the
Angela
first
Hill. One? Angela Hill won the first one. I don't know how long ago it was, but
keep going. You see it? Oh, there it is.
Right there.
2017.
Back in 2017. Yep.
Got it. How'd she? A unanimous decision?
Yep.
All right. Well, what do you think? Some fan questions there?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
Oh,
by the way, you guys, prowrestlingtees.com/weighing in. Guys, check out this shirt. Here you go.
Look at that shirt. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Little March 17th. Sorry, guys. Little March 17th right there with St. Patrick's Day. This will only be available until March 17th. So try and pick it up soon. And you guys can wear it on St. Patty's Day. Hopefully your guys' local bar is open for you guys to go out there and drink. California, not yet. So still not yet. But for those of you guys in Florida and Texas and anywhere else that's open, enjoy. South Dakota.
Hey, man, they got a haircutting place out here that has a bar. Nice. And they serve you free beer while you're getting your haircut.
Have you heard?
I don't care how much the haircut costs. I'm doing it.
How much hair do you want in your beer, though?
Yeah,
I don't care.
I don't know. There's a lot of places like my hairstylist. When I go to her, they give like wine and mimosas to the girls that are getting their hair done, but they're there for like hours.
But
hours.
They do that for the ladies.
They just sit there with a thing over their head that like heats their hair up.
No. Like they get their hair cut, they get it dyed, they're there for 3 or 4 hours. They're forever, man.
Yeah, this place actually, instead of having the little waiting room with the magazines you normally have, it has a bar.
I don't know if you know this. There's a place called iPick Theaters. Do you know what iPick Theaters are? They're like high-end theaters. And so I think they seat like.
Are those the ones that serve you dinner?
Yes.
Okay.
You sit in, they serve you dinner. They have got like the lounge chairs, and they've actually got like a bar. Sometimes they have gambling tables and gambling set up in there. So like you can basically gamble on whatever it is you're watching. So like if you're watching the Super Bowl, right? You go there and you can watch Super Bowl in there, and you can gamble. Like they do prop bets on all of it. Like does the kicker do a onside kick in the third quarter? It could be anything. Fights. Who gets knocked out in what round? Does so and so punch stats do this? Yeah, but apparently they do it's pretty cool little concept. I mean, but it's all high end stuff. I think companies and corporations kind of rent them out. You can watch sporting events in there, big events. So we'll see. I think I'd like to see. I want to go check this out. We should do that as a group, a Wayne group. What, John? What do you think about doing a contest where someone gets a contest and gets to come to either a Bellator fight like with us, or we do like an event where we do something with one of the fans?
We could absolutely do that.
I think we could. Maybe we have to figure something out, but I think it might be a good idea doing something like that, doing it like a big event.
Yeah, as long as you're paying for it, I'm all in.
Oh man, I've got plenty of time to still make money. John's almost ready to kick the bucket.
Oh, dude, 1 foot in, man.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
All right, Dave, give us some fan questions, some Q&A, baby.
All right, the first question comes from Kareem Grahovic, and he or she asks, I don't know if it's a boy or girl's name. Question for both of you: should knees to downed opponent continue to be illegal? What's the difference between a flying knee landing and a downed opponent knee landing? Is there a difference? Thanks. Looking forward to your opinion.
John, we've had this conversation between you and I. I think they should be allowed. John,
I know.
Yeah, I think they should be allowed. I guess there's have to be rules on how, which positions they could be allowed from. I guess I don't think so. It's got to be like all or nothing. I think because we don't want to end up with these like we're having sometimes with the rules: the hand down, 2 hands down, 1 foot, 3 points, fucking disaster. So I mean, but I mean, realistically, I would love to see it because fights would end a lot sooner.
See that right there is your whole thing where they're gonna go no.
Yeah. But I think it would stop people from stalling.
Yeah, but there's no way. Here's the reality of it is, all right, it's not gonna sound nice, but this is the reality. They're never going to pass something that a fighter can later on go, you made the sport more dangerous. Because as soon as the fighter will say, takes a knee to the face on the ground from his opponent, and it's legal, and it used to not be, and now it is, and his orbital gets crushed, and he has a partial blindness in his eye. Now he gets a lawyer, and that lawyer goes after promotions and goes after athletic commissions and says, you created this situation. It was safer before and you made it unsafe. You created this situation, and they're going to win. So that is never going to happen. Just telling you right now, it is a legal nightmare. It won't happen.
So whoever wrote the rules the first time totally fucked it up.
Well, yeah, that was a group of, and a lot of it, when you go back to that, it was it was a barter system where you had people that really understood the sport, some people that didn't. and we had a doctor, and I remember his name. I'm not going to say it again, but he was the guy, man. He was so against that, and that's what, the athletic commission at the time that was putting it together was the New Jersey State Athletic Commission and Larry Hazard, and he goes, yeah, we're not going to allow that. And so it was basically off the table.
Yeah, I mean, you had talked about that. You and Lorenzo had a conversation when they were trying to talk about the spear elbow down, this, 12-6, and it just didn't make any sense. But you were like, Lorenzo said, John,
let it go.
Let it go. It's just not one of those battles we want to have over something so stupid. Just let it go. Now we can have a sport. Like, can you imagine if the whole sport would have just went away because you guys had fought tooth and nail on the knees to the head on the ground and the spear elbow and been like, yeah, now there'd be no sport. And, and then all these fighters, hundreds of fighters wouldn't be able to make a living doing what they love.
You know, and it's so funny, Josh, because people, they don't remember back to what the rules were, even before you were part of the UFC. And, it used to, yeah, it was, but it used to actually be that, at a certain point, you as a fighter, if you were knocked your opponent down, you in no way could use a kick or a knee at any time. You couldn't kick them to the body. You couldn't kick them to the head. You couldn't kick them, in any place if they were on the ground. Couldn't kick their legs, and so that was something that was brought back when we did the unified rules back in 2001. It was actually brought back. They said, yeah, that would to the body, because we tried to explain, look, at least to the body, because you're allowing one person to be offensive, you're making the person on top have to jump in with punches. There's all kinds of things that went on, but there were some things that were even added in at the time, so it was give and take.
When did you guys get rid of the dick punch?
After UFC 14.
Jeez, what took you guys so long? Come on, man.
Okay, and I mean this is the truth. It was after UFC 1. Many of the fighters claimed that if I was able to utilize knees and punches that I've trained in that are to the groin, it would have been a completely different fight. I would have done this because at the time UFC 1, the rules were 3 rules: no biting, no eye gouging, no groin shots. And so at UFC 2, they said, okay, groin shots, no biting, no eye gouging, everything else goes. And you can see that it really didn't affect the fights. But the one that was the big one was there was a guy named Keith Hackney, and he fought Joe Son, who ended up in prison. And he's holding basically a C-clamp on his throat while he's hitting him to the nuts and a cup, But that the rule was actually taken out after UFC 14 based upon we were trying to work with the cable companies, and I took that out as one of the rules. No groin shots were not allowed.
Good call, John. Good call.
Thank you very much.
Well played, my friend. Well played.
Finally did something right.
Next question.
Yeah, sorry, I was just watching Keith Hackney punch Joe Son.
Okay. It's you look and you say, wow, that's just dirty. That's nasty. And then you find out why Joe Son went to prison. You go, that's a beautiful thing watching Keith Hackney hit him there.
Next fan question comes from Billy Boy, who wants to know why is throwing in the towel in high-level MMA so rare, even in situations like Anthony Smith, where he was obviously getting ruined by Glover?
Isn't it illegal?
No,
well, it's not illegal, but they don't recognize it as a forfeit, correct?
Wrong.
Oh, okay. Was it that way before?
It's changed. Yeah, okay. It's changed. It was when we did the unified rules.
Wait, once again, fighters don't know the rules.
Everything is going back to 2001 here, April of 2001 when we did them. Mark Ratner was the executive director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. He was not there, but he was listening in on a conference call through the whole thing. Really didn't say a whole lot, but the one thing that he wanted put in, because in the state of Nevada, they did not like having corner people being able to throw in a towel. So if you went back to the original unified rules, there was 31 of them, and number 31 was you were not allowed to throw in the towel. You had to tell the inspector. The inspector would get the attention of the referee and stop the fight. And it's a muddled way. The throwing into the towel is actually better, but they claim that it can be that someone in the crowd does and it can cause a problem. We talked about doing different colored ones for things so people wouldn't have those colors. But that was rule number 31. But in 2010, they went and changed it and said states individually can make up their mind, but as far as the unified rules, they're going to say that it's allowed to throw in the towel. Now, in the state of Nevada, it's still, you cannot throw in the towel. It's the only state that has it to where that's not something that you can do. Every other state, unified rules says you can do it, you can do it.
Got it. Next one.
The next one's from Dawson Palmer, and he asked, for both, what do you think about Dana White maybe looking for fights for Amanda Nunes outside of the promotion?
Not going to happen, but it would be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, there would really only be one fight. You know, that would be Cyborg. I mean, unless they want to do like a super fight with someone like, what's her name? The big tall girl, Gabby
Garcia.
Gabby Garcia. You know, something like that. I mean, that like, but that would be like, those are like super fight. I think she's just, you're a 2-time champion in 2 different weight classes. They're not going to do that to her. So yeah, it's not going to happen. Not Bellator, but UFC's not willing to. They're not willing to do the cross promotion or start looking for fights outside of that. It just doesn't make sense to them. They can continue to have her be champion at 135. They're just going to pay her a little bit more to keep her happy. And realistically, she's marketable for another couple of years easily.
Yep. Especially with her baby in her arms in the cage.
Yeah.
So cute, and it was so nice to see, and you can tell how happy she is.
Yeah,
she deserves all that. She's great. I look at it and it's, I know. Oh, we had the one discussion about, greatest of all time that they use all the time.
We need to talk about this.
There you go. I gave it to you.
We need to talk about this.
You don't like that.
Because it's not true. She's not the greatest of all time. Don't get me wrong. I know she beat Cyborg. Okay.
Yes.
But the greatest of all time is done over a span. Not to mention you're taking, I don't know, what's the age difference between the two of them?
Between Chris and Amanda,
but Chris is
not much.
But Chris is what? She's been she was champion and hadn't lost a fight since her very first fight. Her first fight.
Yes.
10 years. Amanda has gone up and down throughout her career. Don't get me wrong. She's right now at the top of her game. There's no doubt of it. You can't. That's not deniable. But to say that she's the greatest of all time, absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. Now, look, the arguments can always be that, and I've made these arguments against John Jones and everyone else that has had some sort of cheating problem. Okay, and Cyborg is in that conversation. I can't not have that discussion. So if you want to do that because of that, I agree. Okay, then you can say Amanda is probably right there next in line to be the greatest of all time. I don't know what other female would be ahead of her. I mean, there's Cyborg and there's Amanda gaining on her. But 10 years, she was 10 years, I think longer than 10 years. Scroll down, Cyborg's undefeated. 15 years.
I said 2018 was when she lost to Nunes, and then 2005 was when.
So 2005, so 2018, so what? 13 years. 13 years, not one lost fight, one no contest in there, but not one lost fight.
That's the one you're talking about because that's the one that she failed the drug test.
Yeah, and so I understand, but it's just not true. If you pull up Amanda Nunes' record, she's won, she's lost, she's won, she's lost. Don't get me wrong, she's won a lot. What, the last hold stop? And when was her last loss? Kat Zingano was her last loss in 2014. That's great. At 2014, plenty of years. Math is just not my strong suit. So,
well, I did one of her losses, against Sarah. She's at the time when Amanda was coming up and she was in Invicta at the time. And then she was, Strikeforce and then Invicta. And her fight with Alexis Davis, she lost in Strikeforce. And then she won a fight and then she lost again when she went to Invicta with Sarah D'Alio. And, she was super athletic and she was super, talented, but did not know how to control it and would go out and burn herself out. And it's the big difference in what we see in her now is she has learned to relax in the fight. She controls the pace of the fight. She puts the fight where it's good for her against that opponent. So her fight IQ is so much higher now, which that comes with fights.
Maturity.
But yeah, absolutely. Her fight against Kat Zingano, she was beating Kat up. And she ran out of gas, and this is what I was talking about. She just could not control that pace, and she just went to kill everybody. But you could see, even back then, I told her, I said, you're going to be great. You just got to relax. Because you could see she was tense. And now she's not tense at all.
Yeah.
She is just a stone killer. But I understand what you're saying is, let's take a look where that last one against Kat was in
2014.
2014. So she's gone, basically, we'll say 6.5, 7 years compared to 13.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference in that time frame, but she's fantastic and I take nothing from her. And right now, especially in the UFC, I only see one person that can compete with her and in any fashion have a chance of, beating her in a fight. And that's the champion in the 125. Shevchenko.
And here's the other thing.
Look at her.
Where do you put Shevchenko in that conversation with them? Because I know she's got a longer duration that she needs to beat women in her weight class, but her natural weight class is not 135. And if she has to fight Amanda Nunes again, like that's not her natural weight class, and it shows.
No, yeah,
Shevchenko could do this for another 7 years. I won't say that long, but let's say another 5 years. Let's say another 5 years. She can be dominant for another 5 years. And we're having these conversations. I think it's the three of them at the top of that food chain, but her only losses have been to Amanda Nunes. She's beat Hall.
She had one to Liz Carmouche long ago, but it was on a cut, and it should never have been stopped.
In 2010.
Yeah. That was her first loss ever.
Yeah, over 10 years ago. So when you're comparing the two, they're right there almost together. I put Amanda slightly ahead of her because she's got 2 wins over her, but realistically, she's fighting up in a weight class. Like I don't really hold Izzy responsible for his loss to Yan. He went up in a weight class. This doesn't mean he still can't be the greatest of all time. He still has a chance and opportunity to get there, but it's gonna be hard. But I mean, but he's still damn good. He could definitely become the greatest guy at 185 ever. And so, but to say that she's better than Chris,
just think about what you just said, though. He could be the greatest of all time at 185. He could be the greatest guy there ever. He's going to have a lot. Again, this is where people forget. Think of the run that Anderson Silva had.
Yeah.
That was 185, man. I'm not saying that Izzy can't beat it, but he's got a long ways to go.
But John,
that's a tough one.
The conversation can be made for him that it was with Chris Cyborg in this conversation. Same exact situation. Both had problems with USADA and both had problems with, whatever the commissions. And so, look, if you want to put that aside, those two, sure, I will say Anderson's better than Izzy in terms of he's already considered the GOAT in that weight class. And the same thing for Cyborg. At that weight class, she's already the GOAT. But if you hold that against them, then I can see the argument for Amanda Nunes. But if you're comparing the two, no, Amanda Nunes has more to get to the top. But I think Valentina's right there as well. She could be in that conversation given that she's gone up twice and she's fought in her, her 3 losses, but 2 of them are against Amanda Nunes.
Okay. But then you go to the whole point of go to those 2 losses. And in the first one, it was a 3-round fight where Amanda definitely won the first 2 rounds. And then the 3rd round, Valentina was putting it on her and Amanda was having problems. Fight ended, and so it was clear to the judges, they'd already given the first 2 rounds, and that was right. And then in the second loss, I did that fight. That was a split decision loss. It was close. She's right there with her. Yeah,
that's impressive. Do we see that fight a 3rd time?
I honestly think eventually they're going to have to. If you do me a favor, Dave, pull up the 135 division for the UFC and the ladies. If you look at she's already beaten Jermaine. She's already beaten Holly. I like Aspen Ladd, but she's not ready.
No, she's not.
Amanda. I know that Juliana Pena has been lobbying for that fight, and I really like Juliana. I think she's a tough girl, and she's got a really good ground game. I just don't think that that's a good fight for her. Yeah. I think in the end, this is what happened with Megan Anderson. And I wasn't going to say it, but, I talked to people that were there and, when the first time she got hit by Amanda, she went, ow.
Yeah.
That's something pro fighters don't normally do. Okay. And as soon as she did that, Amanda was like, okay, I'm just going to walk through. And then she hit her and hurt her, and she got the legs started going and stuff. Amanda's got pop, and that's a hard thing for anyone to deal with when someone has got that ability, because she's got fast hands and she's got snap behind it. So there's, obviously Holly Holm is a really good boxer and she's been the champion. She's a great fighter, but she doesn't have a ton of power in her hands. She's got good kicks that she brings up at times, but she got knocked out, by a kick from Amanda. And Amanda's just got, she's got that thing in her back pocket of the power that when she hits these other ladies, they go, ow. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like she is a not younger version, but a like beginning version.
Or modern day version of Jermaine.
No, I think Michael Chandler.
What?
I'm being honest. Like, think about it. Michael Chandler blows himself out and he guts through it and gets through. Like her, she's had problems blowing herself. She found her power. Now she needs to learn how to conserve her energy. Chandler
I was talking
also
about power.
Yeah. Chandler's got power though too. But I'm saying like the two of them, they kind of when you're comparing the two fighters, they both find ways they don't know how to conserve themselves. They just fight at a pace that their bodies can't keep up with. And then they use a lot of energy because they throw a lot of heat behind everything that they throw. Yeah. So, but yeah, both great fighters. Both are good fighters. Yep. With her, the only fight I really want to see is I want to see the Valentina one, and I would like to see the Jermaine one as well, because that last Jermaine fight was good. It was kind of getting a little spicy towards the end. Jermaine almost knocked her out with the up kick. There was a couple moments there Jermaine had. She just got to work on their takedown defense. It's driving me crazy. Remember, Jermaine almost caught her in a submission.
Yeah.
Once it was kind of close.
Yeah.
Deep triangle. I believe it was a triangle, deep triangle.
It's just as time goes on, Jermaine, how old is Jermaine now?
Yeah, she's older. I want to say she's 38.
Because Amanda's what, 32?
30. Yeah,
Cyborg's
32.
like 35.
Jermaine Rondemy is, I think, 38.
Cyborg's 35.
No, Jermaine.
Yeah. I've got it coming up. She's 36.
36. She's got
okay.
A little bit more.
I thought she was a little older than that.
And too. Cyborg's how old?
35.
35.
Oh, 35. Okay. Yeah, they're all in that mix there.
Valentina's 33.
Good. Yeah. Valentina's 33. Man, Jessica Andrade, though, I think she has the potential. She has that potential. She can make it a dirty, grimy fight and get on. I love Jessica. I don't know what it is, man. I love her. So, yeah.
She's a fire plug, man.
All right, what else you got? Question.
Ian Reffel wants to know, when you would stop a fight as a ref, would you ever feel bad for the fighter? What are your immediate emotions? And same goes for Josh. Do you ever feel bad for choking or knocking someone out in a fight after?
First off, do you ever feel sorry for? Of course you do. You feel sorry for almost everyone at times. And they're putting their everything into something, and they're standing. You got to figure, you're standing in your underwear in front of a ton of people, and you failed. Yeah. That sucks. It's mentally, it's hard to deal with. It's crushing at times. And many times fighters look at it like it's the end of the world to them when it's not. And we'll tell them all the time, hey, it's okay, man. Pick yourself up. You're going to be fine. Everybody that cares about you still cares about you. That's all that's important. Don't worry about all these other people. Worry about the people that are close to you. But yeah, absolutely. Some of the things that I actually, have from the whole fight game, and I have certain pictures, and they weren't taken by me, but they were given to me, and they're of me with fighters that have lost. And there's always that thing of you do feel for that fighter. You feel incredibly bad for that fighter because you know exactly how much they put into it and how devastated they are at this time. So yeah.
I wouldn't have expected that from you. I'd have been like, why would I feel bad? I just saved your life. Because if this shit was in the streets, you'd be dead. I didn't expect that. Yeah, I understand. It is. It's rough, man. Do I ever feel bad for choking someone out or finishing them? No, because I put a couple people to sleep, but I didn't feel bad for him, but I got a little nervous. There was a guy I fought down in Arizona his name was Jason Abajan. And I hit him with a clean right. And as he dropped, he bounced off the floor. I thought like as if he was getting up, and I shin kicked him right across the front of the face, and he went stiff, like bad stiff, like put it this way, his arms went from his sides and they started to raise in front of his face. His toes were elevated, not like just off the ground 6 inches, like they lifted a good 2 feet off the ground. And so his whole body looked like he was doing a V up. And I got a little nervous. Like I was like, oh, fuck. So I feel bad? I felt bad in that situation. That was probably the only time. The rest of the time, no. I mean, like, because you see them get up. You see them. That scared me. And that was early in my career, too. That was before I was with the UFC. So it was a little early for me. Yeah, I'd never seen anyone get knocked out like that.
Raymond Venice asks, in you guys' opinion, how would a fight between Islam and Tony go?
No, not a good one for Tony.
You want to take that one first? You want me to do it?
I mean, I feel like we've already answered it. I think it's a bad. Earlier in this video, we talked a lot about that fight. Look, I don't think it's a good fight for Tony, and I feel like every time we talk about Tony, as of lately,
it's not good.
Yeah, people think I'm digging on him.
I love him.
No, and I really like Tony. I like him as a person. I love what he's done in the sport. It's just not a good fight for him. I think if you guys will realize what Charles Oliveira did to him on the ground, Charles Oliveira is nowhere near as strong as Islam. Nowhere near. Maybe a better grappler. Technically, probably a better grappler. But I can tell you, Islam will put him in positions and do whatever it is he wants to do. Just physically strong. And having experience of fighting Tony, I've said this multiple times, and people think I'm being a hater. He is not a strong person. And Islam will put him into a pretzel if that fight was to happen. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. Just physically, he is not strong, and Islam is freakishly strong. So once the fight hits the ground, even on the feet, I think it's going to be a hard fight for Tony. But once that fight hits the ground, which it will hit the ground, it's going to be a long night for Tony.
I look at, there's certain fights, if you're looking at, that lightweight division, there's a lot of guys and stuff. And there's guys that I think Tony can definitely go with and get a win. There's certain styles that don't, lead to him being successful in my mind. Islam's a hard style for him. First off, he is also a southpaw. That style has given him problems in the past. Maybe not. Justin switches back and forth. So Justin's more of a
Michael Johnson's
orthodox
southpaw.
manner. Michael Johnson is southpaw.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think younger fighter, getting older fighter. I love Tony. Tony's a beast. I know he's training with Freddie Roach now, doing a little bit of more boxing and stuff. So maybe Freddie's giving him a couple things that make you stand up just a little touch better. So if that's going to work for him, I hope so. Oh, I also hear Ben Askren is training with Freddie Roach.
Interesting.
Look at there.
Hey,
I'm starting to go to the Ben Askren side.
I told you. Ben Askren's going to get this thing done, buddy.
Love it.
Look, if I want to see Tony fight somebody, and I mean, I'd hate to do this Dan Hooker again with quarantine, but I want to see him fight Dan Hooker. Both tall, both long, both lanky. I think Tony can take him down. I don't know. Tony's going to have a hard time with him on the feet, but I'd like to see that fight. I like Dan Hooker, and I like Tony. I think it'd make for an interesting fight. Or you could watch Tony and Dos Santos.
Beneil.
Yeah, Beneil. That's a tough fight.
I think Tony and Beneil's a good fight.
It is a good fight. But does Tony want to fight someone who's not ranked that high?
I know. No, he's ranked. Well, he's ranked 9.
He's number 9. I mean, Dan Hooker's one ahead, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're going to compare names, Dan Hooker and Beneil, who are you taking?
Beneil's on the upswing.
He is, but who has the bigger name? Dan Hooker or Beneil?
I'm gonna stick with Beneil just because I don't want to say Dan Hooker.
You don't want to see Dan Hooker in quarantine for another 50 days.
Exactly. Leave Dan alone. He needs to be with his family.
Jeez, that's insane.
That is insane. I feel so bad for him. Congratulations on finally getting home, Dan. I hope you enjoy your time with your family. You need it.
All right, buddy. 2 more.
Crazy.
Well, we got one more actually.
Okay, one more.
And it's a non-MMA one, but this is the I chose the questions that the fans thumbs up the most, and this was the most thumbs up question.
Okay.
And Anthony Workman asks,
Is that a way to say thumbs up?
Thumbs up, I know.
This is the most thumbs up.
How do you say need?
This is the most need.
Okay.
Need.
Yeah, that worked.
Anthony Workman says, Has Josh ever heard Big John's story about his honeymoon in Hawaii? It's not MMA related, but should be entertaining.
I have not heard this.
Apparently,
and you will not hear it on this podcast.
Whoever this person is must know you pretty well.
No, it was in John's book apparently.
How come you're gonna put it in your book, but you're not gonna tell me?
It'll get me in trouble.
Here, you know what? I'm gonna have a different one. There is a personal thing that John told me a story about. Let me know. But it's not bad. It is pretty funny. This is also involving Miss McCarthy. But tell the story about what's the chicken with the filet thing that like some great dinner that your kids didn't want to eat. You guys have like this thing where
chicken a la king, cheesy chicken a la king, man.
There you go. Tell that story. That story was hella funny to me.
Holy Christ!
Because I remember sitting at the table as a kid and being afraid to tell my mom something because Dad was gonna whoop the ass. But please tell it. This is great.
Oh, this is horrible. My kids were pretty young then, so they were very well behaved. But I have my youngest one was he was about 4 or 5 at the time, and my daughter was somewhere around 7, and my oldest one was around 10. And we had a island in the kitchen, and then we had chairs, and I had just redone the kitchen, so they're sitting at this thing, right? And I was working out in the garage, and I come in because my wife calls, she says dinner's ready, and I come in, and my kids got this weird look on their face, and they're just kind of like looking at me like, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong, right? And say, hey, and she puts this thing, and it's like these biscuits with this chicken and like cheese sauce over the top thing, right? Like, oh, right. And I said, this looks good, and then my daughter gave me this look like, don't do it, but she didn't say a word. Didn't say a word. And all of a sudden, right, I take and I boom, and I put that thing in my mouth, and it tasted like a salt lick. My wife put so much salt in that thing. So I'm like, holy Christ, right? I put it back, right? And they're looking at me. I go, did you guys eat this? And they go, yes. Right? And she goes, what's wrong with it? Eat that sucker. Try it, right? It was right. And she goes, oh my God, why did she goes, and they're all like, we were afraid to tell you. She read the ingredients wrong as far as how much salt, and she put like a 1/4 cup of salt in this thing. It was the nastiest tasting thing ever. So we went to dinner. We went out to eat.
I just think about at that age, what, 4, 7, and 10, something like that. Yeah. Trying to tell your mom, because and back then too, in those times, your parents said you don't eat it. Go to bed. You're going to bed without dinner. Like, you're gonna eat it tomorrow for breakfast. Like, I got that type of conversation. Mm-hmm. You didn't eat that. You got to eat it for breakfast tomorrow. If you don't eat it for breakfast, you're eating it for dinner when you get home. Yeah. It's like, oh man. And so all 3 kids are like waiting to see what your face looked like. That's great. Oh man.
My sister spit in my cereal one time, and my mom said the same thing. If you don't eat that, you're gonna. Yeah, she didn't believe me that my sister spit in it, and so she thought I just didn't want to eat my cereal, and so she's like, "No, you're eating it. If you don't eat it, then you're not getting anything else. You're gonna eat it for dinner." That was pretty much what you said. And so I had to eat the cereal.
That's disgusting. I would have just threw it on the floor. I wasn't gonna eat it later. I would have just thrown it on the floor. Yeah, be like, no. Oh man, I would have just went to school and just been like, hey, whatever, man. I waited for lunch at school or something, man. Something. Oh, I would have snuck food in the middle of the night. Oh man. That's all you got for us today? That's it? All right. Well, hey guys, hopefully you guys enjoy this show. I'm glad we got a chance to clear this all up. There will be some changes to our schedule for a little bit in terms of dropping shows. We will be dropping now on Wednesday mornings. But what I wanted you guys to tell you guys is hit that notification button, because we are going to be playing around a little bit with some times. So you'll get notified. Sometimes we normally post it at, say, 6 a.m., which is our Sunday show. But we're going to be playing around with some times for our midweek show as of right now. And we also, so if you hit that little notification, little bell off to the bottom right, that'll let you guys know when we drop our show. So the show will be dropping on Wednesdays, but we're going to play with some times anywhere between 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., sometimes maybe even at noon. But we're going to play with that a little bit because we're trying to make sure that we hit the peak time on.
That's Pacific.
Yeah, and that's Pacific time as well. Also, we're almost at 92,000, and just last week we're at 90,000. So we want to thank you guys. You guys have been hitting that thumbs up. You guys have obviously been commenting because you guys blew us up with a bunch of comments. Not all positive,
you people,
but hey,
right?
We want to thank you guys just for commenting. We want to thank you guys for sharing our show. I saw a lot of shares on Twitter. I tried to repost them as much as possible. I saw some of them were trying to be sneaky and trying to add in some sponsors, or not sponsors, but like their own little thing to it as well. And I was like, okay, I can't repost that or retweet that. But we want to thank you guys for being such fans and being great to us. And check out our shirts and buying our shirts at prowrestlingtees.com. Also, the promo code is 100K. I didn't tell you guys that earlier when we were doing it because we got sidetracked. But this is the St. Patrick's Day. It will only be on for March 17th. So pick one up soon. Use the promo code 100K. John, I feel like it was a great show. The energy was up today. I was exhausted last show, man. It was just a long day. The fights were really good.
I was gonna say, dude, I couldn't even take one shot. You didn't yawn at all. Pretty good.
Oh, today.
Very impressed.
Oh,
yeah.
Today. I drank a Monster beforehand.
Dude, I would have been drunk off the last show.
I was so tired last show. I mean, like, I actually didn't realize how tired I was until I looked at the video, and I was like, my eyes were like barely open. I was exhausted. And I was listening to the show, and I was like, man, there was moments where you couldn't even hear what I was saying. I was kind of whispering. I don't know. Anyways, I was exhausted. It was a long day, and I normally get up around 5 a.m., somewhere in there, and just all day with doing stuff. And so anyways.
Yeah, it's all good.
But I'm glad.
I hope everyone is understanding what we mean about stuff. If you're not, oh well.
Yep. Anything
Last
else?
thing you got to say, Josh?
No, I usually let you say the last word because you do it so much better. See ya.
See ya.